feel like I'm getting hammered.
Caitlin Clark has encountered numerous obstacles on the court, but nothing has been more frustrating for fans than the inconsistent and questionable officiating. From missed calls to unnecessary technical fouls, it often feels as though the referees have a personal bias. Is this just a result of tough competition, or is there something more at play? The atmosphere in the arena is electric every time Clark takes the floor, with fans eagerly awaiting her signature long-range shots and impressive assists. However, instead of focusing solely on her performance, Clark must constantly remain aware not only of opposing defenders, but also of the referees, who seem ready to make questionable calls at any moment. What was once a crowd roaring in support now often turns against the officials, who face boos after decisions that leave everyone scratching their heads.
Indiana leads by 11 with 5:48 remaining in.
So, what's really going on here? Are these just bad calls, or is there a pattern of bias emerging? We're diving into 10 of the most questionable, game-changing calls that have left fans, analysts, and even players scratching their heads. And trust me, when we get to number 7, you won't believe how blatant it's become. Let's start with one of the most outrageous no calls in recent memory. On September 22nd, during the start of the playoffs, the Indiana Fever faced off against the Connecticut Sun. Tensions were running high, and all eyes were on Caitlin Clark, the league's most electrifying rookie. The stage was set for an exciting showdown, but instead, fans were left with one of the most egregious officiating mistakes of the season. Just minutes into the game, Sword D. Carrington lunged for the ball, but ended up making contact with Clark right in the eye. The force of the hit left Clark momentarily dazed, blinking as she tried to regain her focus. The crowd waited for the whistle, and waited, but it never came.
Harassed by Carrington, finds Boston. Clark gets hit in the face by Carrington and is down.
Fans erupted in outrage, expecting at least a foul call, if not a flagrant. But the referees remained silent, and the play continued as if nothing had happened. Meanwhile, Clark, clearly affected by the hit, struggled to find her rhythm. She ended the first half shooting a rare 1 for 9 from the field, including 0 for 6 from beyond the arc. A nasty bruise began to form around her eye, serving as a physical reminder of yet another missed call.
Clark is still down after taking a shot following the pass to Boston.
This was just the first of many moments that had people questioning what the officials were really doing. Was this simply another instance of tough playoff basketball, or was there something more at play? Either way, the message was clear. Clark wasn't going to get the typical superstar treatment. If anything, she was going to be on the receiving end of some of the most questionable non-calls the league had to offer.
Everyone else is seeing this angle. I'm calling her in, and I'm saying to her, I need answers.
Fans erupted in outrage, flooding social media to demand accountability from the league. One furious viewer called it the worst officiated basketball game of all time, while another labeled the refereeing as an absolute embarrassment. Despite the mounting frustration from spectators, Caitlin Clark did what she does best. She kept her focus and continued to battle. But the biased officiating didn't end there. Throughout the game, Clark endured relentless physicality, held, shoved, and repeatedly hit, yet the whistle remained silent. No calls, no protection, just an expectation for her to power through it all. Take a look at this moment when Marina Ma aggressively defended Clark as she scored her first postseason bucket.
Clark trying to get around Mabry. Clark to the rim, reverses it home through the contact.
Around May, Clark drove to the rim and reversed the ball home through contact. Even the game's commentators couldn't ignore the excessive physicality, drawing attention to the blatant fouls, yet the referees remained completely indifferent. Despite the missed calls, Clark didn't let it define her. She found other ways to contribute, once again proving why she's one of the toughest competitors in the league. But this wasn't just about one game. It was a glaring example of how officiating can influence outcomes and, more importantly, put players at risk. Then came another shocking moment of physicality that left fans questioning the line between aggressive defense and outright dangerous play. This time, it was a matchup against the Connecticut Sun on August 28th. Everything seemed normal until Alyssa Thomas bulldozed through Clark, delivering a shoulder check that sent the rookie crashing to the floor.
Look here at the heavy contact.
The arena gasped in disbelief. The hit was brutal, yet somehow the officials only called a common foul. Fans were livid. "That's not basketball," one person tweeted, while another described it as a cheap shot, leaning in with the shoulder. The overwhelming consensus was that it should have been a flagrant foul, and the failure to call it as such only fueled concerns about the officiating in the WNBA. Even after enduring relentless physicality, Caitlin Clark refused to let it shake her confidence. She shook off the hit, got back on her feet, and went straight to work. Her ability to bounce back and stay focused on the game was a testament to her mental toughness. Despite the blows, Clark kept making an impact, proving why she's one of the most determined athletes in the league.
Alyssa Thomas.
Yeah, they're not going to look at this. They might.
It's gotten the fans here.
Just when it seemed like Clark had overcome every challenge thrown her way, a new controversy emerged, this time from an unexpected source. Picture this, a timeout, a fired-up rookie rallying her fans, and then, out of nowhere, a veteran stepping in with a blatant shove. How would the referees react? The matchup against the Seattle Storm on August 18th had already been an intense battle. As the game neared its climax, Clark was near the Seattle bench, hyping up the crowd and feeding off the electric atmosphere. Then, suddenly, Skylar Diggins-Smith made her move. Without warning, Diggins-Smith stepped up behind Clark and delivered a shoulder check, forcefully pushing her out of the way. The initial excitement in the arena turned into stunned gasps, quickly followed by a wave of angry boos. But once again, the referees let it slide. No foul, no warning, just silence. This moment instantly sparked a debate about sportsmanship and fairness. Fans flooded social media demanding answers. "How is this not a foul?" one asked. Another questioned, "Why do certain players seem to get away with blatant aggression, while Clark continues to be scrutinized for the slightest actions?" And yet, while Diggins-Smith's push went completely unnoticed by the officials, Clark's own displays of emotion and passion on the court have been met with swift technicals and warnings. So, the question remains, was this just another example of inconsistent officiating, or is there a deeper issue at play within the WNBA? That same August 18th showdown against the Seattle Storm was already intense, but what happened next turned up the heat even more. With 7:14 remaining in the third quarter, Caitlin Clark missed a shot. In a moment of frustration, she lightly hit the padding of the basketball hoop. Before anyone could even process what had happened, the referee's whistle rang out. Asterisk, technical foul asterisk.
Okay, by now I'm sure you've seen Skylar Diggins assault. Caitlin Clark after Indiana blew out Seattle.
The call sent shockwaves through the arena, and fans were immediately divided. Was this really an act of unsportsmanlike behavior, or simply a player reacting to a tough moment? The debate raged on as Clark later explained her reaction, but the damage was already done. "I got a little frustrated," she said, "but that doesn't justify the call." The fans' frustration only grew as it seemed Clark was being held to a different standard than her opponents, adding fuel to the fire of the ongoing officiating controversy.
Caitlin Clark gets hit with a technical.
I had a technical for basically being mad at myself because I missed the three and then I went and hit the backboard, and he told me it was disrespectful to the game of basketball. Nothing to do with my team, it had nothing to do with their reffing, had nothing to do with other team. It was just because
Kaylon Uwede in that group. Kennedy Carter nearly picks off the pass, and Diana Taurasi, they'll count the bucket. And Antoine coming up for
Clark, the hesitation, working inside the reverse. Owen took a big hit there on Jackie Young. Left, goes around to Gumake, drives baseline, his shot rejected by Izzy McMagor. And all of a sudden, we're pretty close. This has been as close as